Hey everyone, this is Tom, otherwise known as Scary Spikes, and welcome to another Star Citizen video. Today will be the first of hopefully very many of my ship guides, and today we'll be talking about a very iconic ship, the RSI Constellation Andromeda. This is a ship that I fell in love with very early on in my Star Citizen career, even though it does have its flaws, but it is a beautiful ship and it's very capable in the right hands. Today we'll be taking a tour of this amazing ship, as well as taking a look at the different components and my recommendations for how to best utilize this ship. I hope you enjoy the video. If you like what you see and this video is helpful to you, please make sure to leave me a like to let me know, drop a subscribe, it's absolutely free, and ring the bell so that you never miss a video in the future. If you're so inclined, you can also become a channel member to get some cool perks. Just click on the join button for more details, and just a reminder that I stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays over on Twitch, and I would love for you to join me there. We also have a nice Discord for all of our community members to join in, and you can join by clicking on the link in the description. Without further ado, let's get into this video. First of all, I'd just like to give you a quick tour on the outside of the ship. The ship is really beautiful to look at, especially with this Invictus Launch Week blue and gold or blue and yellow trim here. It's a really nice looking ship with a lot of different intricate designs. The one thing that I'm not too crazy about is the very front of the ship, which looks really nice from the outside, but does make it a little bit trickier to see from the inside. As you can see here on the very front, on the right as well as on the left hand side, is a pair of thrusters, or they're not really thrusters, they're more like vertical takeoff turbines, and you can find a similar set on the back of the ship as well. This helps the ship to get up and go from a vertical position, and it makes it a lot easier to maneuver in that vertical position as well. One of my favorite things about this ship are the missile launchers, which you'll see in a little bit. It's also a very capable missile boat, of course, but it does have some really nice guns, and we'll go over all of the different things that come stock on the Andromeda here in just a little while. Moving along to the side of the ship here, we can see that we have an airlock over on the left-hand side, or on the starboard side. It is also the same on the port side, so the ship is fairly symmetrical, and everything that you see on this side can be found on the other side of the ship as well. Moving a little bit closer to the rear of the ship, we can see some of these really big thrusters and these engines. The downside of that is if these become damaged or they get shot off your ship, it does become really difficult to maneuver your ship, and I think this is probably one of the biggest downsides of the Andromeda that's very easy to see. It is a really cool looking ship though, and I really love the design despite the flaws, and I'm not sure about you guys, but it really gives me vibes from StarCraft 2. If you guys remember that ship, I believe it was from the Terrans that shot with the Yamato cannon. I forgot what the name of the ship was, but basically this ship just gives me those kinds of vibes. Over on the back of the ship here, we can see that we have basically the four main thrusters of the ship facing backwards, of course, and the rear end of the ship with I believe it's a P-52 Merlin hanging off the back. Now, if you've been paying attention in 3.12, we got a little bit of news about what's coming up. There's been some changes in the roadmap, and for 3.13, we're expecting that we're going to be able to finally undock this little snub fighter here that comes with the Constellation and be able to redock it back to the ship. That's really going to open up a whole slew of different types of gameplay opportunities with this ship. It's going to make it a lot more fun to fly this ship again, at least for me. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I really love the design of the ship, and really, like I said, the color is just popping here with this blue Invictus Week launch skin, but it does also have a really nice look with its default color scheme, even though it doesn't have this bright blue and yellow trim. Let's go inside the ship and have a look what we can see inside, and we'll take it from there. So to get into the ship, we'll need to go over to the elevator here. Just go ahead and hold F to open up your inner thought system, and then just click with your left mouse button. The elevator will just come down. And I really like the way this works, actually. There's like a nice animation here. It's nice and smooth. I do kind of wish that this went all the way down to the bottom, but I understand why it doesn't. And as you can see there, sometimes we do have a little bit of elevator troubles getting into the actual ship. So we'll move throughout the ship from the front to the back. And we'll start off on the bridge, which I think is just one of the most atmospheric and beautiful places on the ship. We'll start at the very front, where we have, of course, the captain's seat. Let's have a seat here and see what it looks like. We get this really nice animation getting turned around and having our MFDs fold down to greet us. You can press R to make the ship ready to launch, and we'll just take off here so that we don't despawn. It's also important to note that if you want to hide these vertical takeoff and landing turbines, you just need to press K on your keyboard and it will turn them off and turn them on with the same button. We get a nice view here actually, since we're floating just above Port Olisar. We get a good idea of the size of the ship and just how beautiful it looks. It's got a really sleek look to it. I really like the design language here. I really like the lines and the angles, and I think that the back of the ship especially looks super cool. Like I said, it gives me those StarCraft 2 vibes, especially with that those sets of thrusters there, and I really like the Merlin snub fighter on the back. Let's move a little further away here, and then we'll take a tour through the rest of the ship. One thing you'll notice before we get into the ship is that on the very sides of it here, you can see that there's several arms that are unfolded. These arms actually hold the Marksman 1 missiles that come with the ship. So more on that on just a little bit. And if you look a little bit closer, you can also see, if we zoom in just a little bit, that the top of the ship also has some missile launchers. And these missile launchers right in the middle of the ship here are proprietary, so you can't change them, but they hold the Strike Force 2 size 2 cross-section missiles that come default with the ship. It's actually really cool the way it looks, but it is another drawback on the ship that you can't change the different mechanisms by which you want to launch your missiles, and thereby you can't really change the size of your missiles. So that's the only other downside as well. But missiles at the moment are not really a huge sort of a big deal. They don't work quite as well as we would like, and so if you're really into missiles, that might be a downer for you, but if you're not, then it won't really bother you too much. As we can see here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total MFDs, lots of information, and this is what I really like. This is also the other reason why I really like the Carrack, for which a video will be coming in the future, because you really have everything at your fingertips here. As you see here, what I've mentioned before is that the very front of the ship does present a little bit of a difficulty seeing. Seems to be kind of a signature design idea with regards to RSI ships, where they put these like beams and things like that in the very front of the cockpit. But in any case, it's not too bad, and you do get used to it after a little while. Just going to go ahead and hold Y to get out of the cockpit here. As you can see, the ship definitely looks much nicer once we have everything powered up. We'll have a look over here as well. This is the co-pilot seat as well as the assistant to the co-pilot seat, and each of these comes with one MFD so that they can help you to manage your power or your shields or whatever you need them to do. Moving back here, we'll notice that we have a really unique feature to the Constellation, which I don't think I've seen in any other ship, but correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. These are the 2 size 2 turrets that you can man. So there's one on the very top of the ship, and there's also one on the very bottom of the ship. And each of these comes with some size 2 weapons, which we'll talk about in just a little while. Before we get to that part though, let's just continue through the rest of the ship to take a tour. This is the midsection of the ship, or otherwise known as the crew quarters, and it's pretty spacious. As you can see over here, we have a washroom, so presumably there's a toilet built in here which we can't activate. There's also a shower, so that's kind of nice to have those amenities on board. And we also have some utility space over here as well as some lockers. These can be opened, but unfortunately we can't really store anything in them quite yet. Hopefully in the future we'll be able to store some suits, and I'm curious what else you guys think that these things should be used for, so let me know if you have any ideas in the comments below. Finally, over on this side we have a couple of gun racks, so here you can store some of your rifles or whatever else you may have. Unfortunately, until iCache and server meshing comes out, we're not really going to be able to see any persistence here, so these will only last you throughout the duration of your session, and they will not be here once you relog and come back in. Over here we have some storage space as well as a crew rest area. There is a table here, but I have no idea how to bring this up. I've seen some other videos online of some people being able to bring this up, so if you know how to do that, definitely let me know. Moving towards the rear of the crew compartment here, we can see that we have 4 very spacious bunk beds, and interestingly enough, these also double as escape pods, so when that becomes a thing in the game, these will be useful for that, and they look pretty comfortable actually. Moving towards the sort of rear midsection of the ship, we see we have our main sort of cargo area here. This cargo area can hold up to 96 SCU of storage, that's standard cargo units. You can also fit a RSI rover in here, and contrary to what a lot of people think, you can actually have a vehicle as well as store goods here. So what will happen is, if you happen to buy any commodities while you have a vehicle in here, let's say like a PTV, like a small rock PTV or another smaller vehicle, the gear or the things that you buy will actually end up being put around the vehicle. So it will reduce the amount of space that you have for standard cargo units, but any free space can still be taken up. So you can ideally have less cargo for your commodities, but still be able to carry cargo whilst also having a vehicle in here as well. So it's good to keep that in mind. As you can see, we have some missiles over here on this side. These are the Strike Force 2 cross-section missiles that come on the ship by default. But unfortunately in my testing, I haven't been able to get these to disappear as I use them, so I think they're just for show. Nevertheless, they look really cool. Over on this side, we do have the first airlock. You can open this, and this can be used while docking to a space station, which I believe is something that is coming in the future. And moving over, we can see that we have some components and different sort of ship gizmos over on the one side of the ship. Over here, we have the second ladder, which goes down to the cargo compartment here. And just so you know, this can be lowered, although I don't want to do it now because I'm going to be in 0G. Actually, I think I can do it here just to show you very quickly because we're up on the top. We should have gravity here. So there we go. And then in order to close it, you just click that. So like I said, you are able to get an RSI rover in here, which is nice, but just keep in mind, based on what I said before about having a vehicle as well as being able to carry cargo, the RSI rover basically takes up the entire space here. So if you're able to get it in here, you will not be able to have any cargo whatsoever. Moving over to the other side of the ship, this is the port side of the ship, we also see that we have some avionics and some other computers and ship gizmos on this side. We also have the Strike Force 2 missiles here that come default just for show here on these racks, and then we also have another airlock on the port side of the ship as well. This is really nice, it really gives you some options, and what a beautiful view that is outside of Port Olisar. Really nice. For a second there, that looked like an Orion. But in any case, we'll just go ahead and close this. And we'll move to the back of the ship in order to have a look at the Snub Fighter Bay, which is really exciting. Something that will be coming and be useful in the next major patch coming later this year. So as we move here, we do have a little bit of extra space here. These are power plants and the gravity generator here as well, so some more ship gizmos and stuff. I kind of feel like the space back here is a little bit wasted. I feel like there could be maybe a little bit more storage space back here, but given the fact that we have a Snub Fighter in the back, I can't really complain too much. So this is how you'll be able to get in and out of the Snub Fighter. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm able to. Oh, actually, yeah, maybe I can. There we go. Enter ship. Perfect. So we just kind of glitched through the canopy, but this is what it's going to look like. So now we're inside the sort of docking collar, and we can see a little bit there, the outside area of the ship. So this is now docked in there, and oh, this is really weird. We're able to see Port Olisar there. That's really strange. But in any case, this is the ship here that you can dock and undock from the Constellation Andromeda, and you will be able to do so, from what I understand, in 3.13. That was really weird. But in any case, this is really exciting. Really exciting, and I'm really looking forward to that functionality. The Constellation Andromeda is really an amazing ship. Like I said before, it does have its downsides, but what ship doesn't? Let's take a look at some of the armaments and some of the core components that come stock on the Andromeda, and then I can give you some recommendations that I would use personally. First and foremost, I want to look at the missile loadout on this ship because it's pretty remarkable. Even though we only have a selection of size 1 and size 2 missiles, which might not sound that great to start with, it's really one of the biggest loadouts that you'll find in just about any ship in the game. First, we'll start off with these extending arms here towards the back. As you can see, they're highlighted by this yellow outline here based on the skin that we have currently. And these are the same on both sides of the ship. So both the port as well as the starboard side of the ship have exactly the same thing. And these arms each carry a number of size 1 marksman missiles. Size 1s are pretty decent for smaller ships, but really not that great for anything bigger than that. But they can be great to use in small encounters where ships are relatively close to you, but still not too close where you can get these off. That is a challenge that I've had with the size 1s, but it's just a nice to have as well. Moving on, we can see that we have some more launchers on the very top of the ship here, and these are proprietary just as the sidebars or the arms on the sides of the ship that come out that hold the size 1s. These launchers here will hold the size 2 strike force missiles. Those are a cross section that come default with the ship, and I just really love the look of this thing. It just looks so cool. It also lines up with the midsection of the ship where we previously saw the 2 big missile racks just in the cargo section of the ship that I guess arguably load these launchers vertically, which is just a really cool concept, and it's very unique between all the different ships in Star Citizen. The total missile payout, or payload rather, of this ship is 163,538. One of the other things that really is special about this ship is the fact that you have 4 size 4 CF447 Rhino laser repeaters. These are the ones that you can see on the top and the bottom of the ship. We have 2 on the top, we have 2 on the bottom. And these things are really cool. They have a great fire rate, they do a lot of damage, it takes a really long time for them to overheat, meaning that they're really good candidates for overclocking, they do a really good amount of damage, they have about a 4-kilometer range, and they amount to about 2,642 total DPS with 634 alpha damage between the 4 of them, which is so much damage. I was able to take out Valkyries in less than 10 seconds with these, and it's just amazing that you can do that with an Andromeda, a ship that most people wouldn't really use for bounty hunting, but I beg to differ. It's actually a great ship for that reason, and it deals with medium and even larger sized ships extremely well with these weapons, and the missiles are a nice touch as well. Additionally, you also have those 2 turrets that we talked about earlier, which will come out, as you can see here, in the top of the ship. We also have one in the bottom of the ship. So these each have 2 sets of size 2 weapons, and they'll do a total DPS of 915 with 732 alpha damage. If you have friends that want to come with you and have some fun doing some bounty hunting or maybe a little bit of light PvP, it's a nice way to thwart off lighter and medium sized ships at closer range if they get a little bit too close to you, where you're not really able to use your bigger weapons more effectively. Overall, I would say the weapons package on the ship is pretty comprehensive, and it makes it a really good, well-rounded overall ship to fight with and to do just about anything else you want to do in the verse. I've been making quite a bit of money doing bounty hunting with this ship, and besides it being a little bit weak with the shield holes, it's actually held up extremely well. Let's talk about very quickly about what you can expect to get stock on the ship with regards to components. So your total components here with regards to the size or the sizing of the components will be mostly size 2. If we start off with the shield generators, you'll get a pair of 5MA Kamali shield generators, each of them capable of generating 21,876 for your shields, so the total of that being 44,365. And they're not too bad, but I would definitely replace them with maybe some FR76s, or maybe if you want to be a little bit more stealthy, use one of them as an Umbra and the other one as an FR76. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the 76s are size 2. I don't have that in front of me at the moment, so I may be mistaken. But moving on, we have some power plants here. These are also size 2, and as with the shield generators, they are civilian and they are grade C, and those would be the daybreaks. So they are able to produce 5,938 units each for a total of 34,938. And they're not terribly bad, but I would definitely replace these as well. You can go to Urkel.games if you want to see different kinds of ship loadouts that you can use, but I would recommend pretty much anything that's grade A and either industrial or military. Moving on, we have two size 2 coolers. These are the Frost Star EX, and they are also civilian as well as grade C. I would definitely recommend replacing these as well. Again, if you have something that is grade A or grade B and in a military or industrial class, then that would be ideal, but these will do a reasonably good job. They produce 4,280K of cooling per second for a total of 8,560. Okay, and then moving on with the quantum drive, this is arguably the worst part of the ship that comes stock, and I would definitely replace this as soon as possible, especially if you're doing some group bounty missions and you're traveling a lot. It will cut down on your travel time quite a bit. The one that comes stock on the ship is the size 2 Bolon, which is an industrial grade C quantum drive. I would definitely put a crossfield in there because they're really good overall and they're not too expensive, but you can move up to something like a military or industrial grade or industrial class or military class into a grade A. Would be very helpful for you as well. But a crossfield should be more than good enough for most people. It does come with size 2 radars. There are 3 of them, and I believe 1 or 2 of them are in the top turret, but unfortunately that's not implemented in the game quite yet. But I've heard that later this year we are going to be seeing some radar implementation, so that should be interesting. And we also have your standard thrusters on the back, as well as our maneuvering and retro thrusters on the ship. So overall, what would I recommend this ship to be used for? Well, it's a great multi-crew ship. As you saw in the front of the ship there in the cockpit, we do have space for 3 people. We do have 4 bunks, but we do have space for basically 5 people to occupy the ship at once. 6 if you include a pilot for the snub fighter once that becomes a thing. So you can have somebody managing your shields in the front, another person managing your power, then you have of course the pilot, and then you have 2 folks in each of the turrets at the top and the bottom of the ship. And again, you have 1 person maybe that you can have lurking around the ship if you want to use them as a snub fighter pilot to help defend yourself. So my recommendations for this would be to do some bounty hunting. You can also do some light trading with this and a little bit of light exploration, although I feel like the Aquila would be much better if you're looking to get into exploration, especially when that gets fleshed out in the game. That being said, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. It's a bit of a new thing for me, so let me know if there's anything that you'd change, and let me know what you use your Constellation Andromeda for. If you enjoyed the video and found it helpful whatsoever, please make sure to drop me a like to let me know, and to subscribe and ring the bell so that you never miss a video in the future. Also keep in mind that I do stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays on Twitch, and that we have a Discord for all of our community members, and we would love to see you there. That's going to be it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for joining me here and for being part of our little community, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye for now.